Toyota, the well-known 84-year-old industry-leading multinational car maker with almost 400,000 employees and $800 billion in assets, the king of mediocrity. Dude, Toyota just froze Landcruiser 300 orders back in Japan because, chronic incompetence. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au and I get new cars cheap. But apparently not Land Cruisers. Not for the foreseeable future, at least. Most other cars, though, still okay. Australia only. Website. Card. Click it now, dude. Give me that. Oh, what a feeling. Do you remember back in September of last year when I reported about Landcruiser 300 delays that could extend to 4 years because facts? And then, a month later in October, Toyota Shitsville had a bit of a tanty and fielded a leading in-house sales and marketing wonk to repudiate that claim with all the corporate weasel word qualifiers. Yes. Well, interestingly, the king of upfuckery has just suspended all Landcruiser 300 orders back in Japan, and not for a week or for a month, indefinitely. Apology for suspension of order. Thank you for considering our vehicle. Landcruiser has been very well received, not only in Japan but also in other countries around the world, and we are currently suspending orders because we have received orders that greatly exceed our production capacity. Other countries around the world. For fuck's sake, dudes. As opposed to what? Other countries not around the world? Pretty clearly. Lost in translation there, I suppose. Anyway, that's immatestical. But I think that whole claim is essentially bullshit. It seems to me that Toyota actually has plenty of production capacity. What they lack is the ability to make the cars. It's not a capacity issue. The wait on a Camry hybrid is like 2.5 years. I just checked. They keep shooting themselves in the dick and they've been spectacularly unsuccessful for about 3 years now at turning their extreme supply chain vulnerability around. This is the core of the whole car industry's epic fuck-up since COVID, and Toyota has fucked this up harder than just about every other car maker. All they have to do now is lie back, bask in it, and friggin' admit it. Just before Toyota Shitsville got all antsy last year over media reports of horror waits for Landcruiser, Toyota announced it would slash production by 40%, right? That's not a small amount of production car. Plenty of production capacity, okay? They just can't make the cars. Mainly because just not smart enough to ensure supply chain security. Because bean counters are in charge and not a bunch of engineers. Oops-a-daisy. That announcement about the 40% production cut was 11 months ago. And then back in December, Toyota announced a January shutdown at 5 factories because it had shot itself once again in the dick over component supply security. By January, that shutdown had extended to 11 Toyota factories. In February this year, Toyota shut factories thanks to a suspected cyber attack. Like, suspected. Jesus, dudes. It either is or it isn't. A cyber attack, in my estimation, is a fairly binary proposition. And then, according to leading press release recyclers over at Car Expert, in May just gone, the King cut production by a further 50,000 units to 700,000 in total for May, which is annualised at about 8.4 million units, and that is well under Toyota's nearly 10 million unit production capacity. Production capacity, frankly, is not Toyota's problem. Toyota has production capacity to burn. And any suggestion they misunderestimated demand, to use an enduring George W. Bush II ism, is just bullshit on the balance of probability. They appear to be claiming this because swamped by demand is a concept with better optics in the domain of spin than the truth, which would be, well, we kind of fucked up supply, and after 3 years, we have been abjectly unable to unfuck it. I don't know about you, but I find it pretty hard to have any sympathy whatsoever for a multinational company that fails to do the one thing it employs 400,000 people to do every day, which would be make cars. The number of acceptable excuses for this kind of failure is asymptotic to zero, baby. At least it is on my world. Of course, journalists who work for publishers who rely on Toyota's advertising to line the pockets of their shareholders are unlikely to criticise Toyota in this way, irrespective of what said journalists might actually think privately. Here in Shitsville, you have to ask yourself, how long does the wait have to be before the shitbox you want to buy is actually not on sale, and marketing it as being available and taking your deposit actually becomes kind of misleading and deceptive conduct? Like, dude, if you log into toyota.com.au today, this is what stares you in the grill on the homepage. The big shitter you cannot actually buy, but you can build and price. It's like all the foreplay and none of the sex, metaphorically. You can even subject yourself to 2 nauseating minutes and 54 long seconds of Sean Hanley failing adequately to explain Toyota's inability to do the one job it exists to do, which would be manufacture and distribute its vehicles. That is actually a politics-grade explanation right there. Hashtag respect, dude. Lots of words, not all that much substance. Personal opinion, actually, he's just reading them. It's a corporate statement that 20 lawyers have approved. A recipe for how to fail to engage with ordinary people, in other words. I suppose if you want to be a spin doctor one day or a corporate media trainer, that video is instructive and also well worth watching. Just not on a full stomach, dude. It's bad. Anyway, that video is 2 minutes and 54 of yo life that yo will never get back. Plus, you'd think Toyota Shitsville could afford a higher caliber of production values and media training before forcing the poor guy to do it. Just saying. Personal opinion. Now, I think I speak for the entire fucking human race when I say I'm getting kind of sick of hearing corporate masturbators deploy COVID-19 over and over as the Swiss Army knife of excuses for just fucking up on a grand scale. Furthermore, the computer chip shortage is a crisis that the car industry just set itself up to endure. Like, if you load the gun and you hand it to Arnie, is it really such a surprise if you wind up terminated? The fact is, Toyota has 800 billion Shitsvillian micro pesos in assets. It has the resources to unfuck practically anything. But of course, with the Keystone Cops at the helm and a bunch of bean counters as the crew, one should probably be neither disappointed nor surprised if the ship fails to dock on time. Or ever. Regarding the resumption of orders, we will inform you again based on the future production situation. We apologise for the inconvenience and thank you for your understanding. Toyota Japan there, filling once again a communicational vacuum with words that continue to fail materially to inform. Well done. The firm possibility of a definite maybe that things might change at some indeterminate point in the future, and you will be among the last to know if they do. Guaranteed. Terribly sumimasen about that. Dude. I do love Toyota, however. They've become so impossibly excellent at being terrible at making cars and then apologising for it over and over. Of course, there might be a bigger problem in play here than they are admitting to, and they do kind of suck at admitting the truth when the truth doesn't suit them. Chesty now, over at eBay on wheels, or whatever it's called, he speculates that this freeze on JDM Landcruiser orders could free up the international supply queue. Good for us, potentially. But then he goes on and has an each way on that, and further speculates that international orders could shortly be frozen. Bad for us. There is, of course, a third option, isn't there? TMC could easily have frozen international orders already and just failed to tell the markets in the regions because it's kind of a bad look. Toyota has, of course, lied to 260,000 Australians before, has it not? I would argue that it's kind of hard to imagine a world where Toyota considers orders for the JDM less important than orders originating in a shithole such as Australia. A spokesperson for Toyota's Shitsville is quoted by Chesty as having said, demand for new vehicles is at unprecedented levels, before, rabbiting on with the usual corporate wank about how they are all striving tirelessly beyond the intensity required to pass Navy SEAL Team selection to get you that CO2 belching twin-turbo V6 diesel shitter you've always wanted. And I would argue that this statement is almost certainly an inversion of reality. Unmitigated bullshit, in other words. Demand is not what is unprecedented here, you Toyota pelicans. Toyota's abject shitness at building cars is what is historically unprecedented. In fact, Toyota is not swamped by demand. It is swamped by virtue of its own inability to manufacture cars. There is an orgy of public evidence in support of this claim. And the only reason the media is not actually calling them out on claiming this kind of export-grade bullshit is that they want the advertising revenue, and Toyota is unlikely to support media outlets which identify their indefensible claims for the bullshit they are. There is tremendous latent production capacity at Toyota. Toyota cannot announce a 40% production cut and then claim that it does not have the capacity to meet allegedly unprecedented demand. The factories are there waiting, and they are often idle. In closing, therefore, upliftingly, let me oxygenate just one additional morsel of abject corporate bullshit from Toyota Shitsville. The RAV4 Hybrid, Camry Hybrid, Landcruiser 70 and Landcruiser 300 are in particularly high demand and currently have longer wait times. Translation, okay? Sumimasen, dudes, but for some inexplicable reason, we've just become especially shit at building those ones.